Hello guys, welcome back or welcome if you're new, it's Christian from Emotions in Wine. So today we close a bit the tastings about Campania region for now, so Naples region. We talked about Greco with my iconic Greco from Quinto Decimo Winery, a symbol, and the other video about Fiano di Avellino. I spoke about the region in general, links below if you want to see, also good for introduction to the region. Today we talk about the red. So Aglianico is the grape, which is the most important red grape in the south of Italy. Is comparable to Sangiovese and Nebbiolo. That's why Taurasi, which is the DOCG top, and takes the name from the village Taurasi, like Barolo from the small town Barolo, is called the Barolo of the South because there are many similarities. And these are the three most prestigious red grapes in Italy. So Taurasi is the top expression. In Irpinia, near the Apennines mountains, at 350, 600 meters, even 700 in some cases. So continental climate, not really south. It's a bit more rainy, but still not much. And then important, Aglianico is early budding and late ripening. So the harvest occurs for all the grapes there in October, but Taurasi can be even end October, beginning of November. So that is, but it's also very important because there is less warm, so there is more excursion, more aromatics, more acidity. That is also characteristic, but the tannic structure is the most relevant comparing to Barolo and needs a lot of time. It's said to be wine from the days of the Greeks and the Romans. The Aglianico grape, of course, not the Taurasi specifically, is probably the first red that was drunk in Italy in those days under Romans. But unfortunately, until the 90s, so in recent history, there was only family Mastro Berardino running the show and making it a bit visible. Only in the 90s, when the DOCG was granted, and there was a bit of rebirth of the region in general, but Italian wine movement in general also, because mainly started in the 90s. So in the 90s, there started to be small artisan wineries, so more focused, tiny, very specific to the area, making even only a couple of wines in some cases and so on. So the Renaissance is still slow because, as I said before, this region is still underrated, but not just because until 30 years ago there was not much presence also. It's really for other reasons not even known because the wines are amazing, whites, reds, and there is a lot of tourism in Campania, so people know about. But somehow it's tough to find, not many are into them, much more Sicily or Sardinia, for example. So we need to give more visibility because they are outstanding wines. And here we're talking really about top. So Aglianico is only in Campania and Basilicata regions, which is smaller nearby, where there is Aglianico del Vulture. Vulture is a volcano. In Irpinia, there is also some volcanic soil with the ashes from the neighboring volcanoes, but majority is clay limestone, the classic. The structure, of course, is quite big. Alcohol depends. Here today we have higher and lower. We'll see later. So something very special with a huge longevity. In fact, you will see the vintages and that need to be known and appreciated. Really as the cheaper alternative to Barolo or Brunello. Much cheaper. So even today, it's still not easy to find, especially abroad, choice. That's why, especially for the Taurasi, we are still referring to the main wineries. So today we have Terredora, Taurasi, Fatica, Contadina 2015, 13.5 alcohol, and Antonio Caggiano, Taurasi, Vigna, Macchia dei Goti 2018, 14.5 alcohol. So Terredora is Mastro Berardino. In 94, Mastro Berardino family split into two branches. So one kept the name, and this one kept most of the vineyards. They had 200 hectares of property. If you go on their website, it's unbelievable how crazy details about the locations for each different grape. Of course, they make all the whites and the reds and a huge range. It's a big family-owned estate. In the south, you still have quite a lot of that, and they are still able to deliver consistency and quality. And this is one of the symbols that is Mastro Berardino, so that means something. They age even much more. So the problem of the tannic structure and acidity similar to Barolo, they, by choice, them, also other wineries release the wines much later than by law request. In their case, you will see 2015, we have, okay, it's not the current vintage, but I think now it's 2017 or 2018, so much older than the average. Also, Caggiano, who was one of the first to start in the 90s, he was a famous photographer, originally from Taurasi village, and he came back and started from the family property, built an underground amazing cellar, and now it's quite sized, but not that big, medium-sized, focused on Aglianico grape. He has 3 or 4 wines, and then also a couple of the whites, Fiano and Greco. So even in his case, now the current vintage is a bit younger than Terredora, but about 20 or 21 vintage. So this luckily I sourced recently back vintages. So I'm very lucky because today we have a 10 years old and a 7 years old top reds. Very reasonable prices. We will see later. So I start to pour, open a couple of hours as usual. To let them breathe, we will do next day tasting in the end of the video because these wines need to be tasted tomorrow. Both still very ruby, intense. There is no even garnering, just really a hint on Terredora, 10 years old wine. So, first smell, of course I tried the wines at the beginning to see if they were fine. I go first for Terredora because it's 2015 and it's lower alcohol, so it's riper and lower, so more gentle. So Terredora is one of the symbols, quite big, so it's quite available. They have many markets in the world, so you can find quite easily their range of wines. They have value for money outstanding on all the line. Of course, you find better wineries, niche, boutique for this product or the other, but here we're talking about consistency, range, quantity, availability, so all the characteristics that you need. And being still quite younger, the Renaissance, too many are too tiny, so they are not able to be found out of South Italy or a bit more in Italy. But even in Italy, in many regions, you have very few choices, still nowadays. So I give you some of the reference names. Caggiano was, as said, the first newcomer with Molettieri. They were the two main names competing with Terredora, Mastro Berardino, and the other big one, Feudi di San Gregorio. So these were the first names. So back to Terredora. They have the vineyards in several communes. This one is sourced from different plots from Monte Mileto and Lapio. Lapio is very famous for the Fiano. Both are next to Taurasi. 400, 500 meters, clay limestone, a lot of clay for both locations. So the wine is made with 10, 12 days of maceration, then fermentation. After fermentation, go in French barrique for 18, 24 months. Then at least 6 months assembling of all the casks into big Slavonian cask, which is the traditional way. Both they go for barriques, but in their case they use also the Slavonian cask to give a bit of harmony at the end. And then at least 2 years, if not 3 or more, of bottle refinement. That is by their decision. Lot of complexity. Dark fruit is the classic, dark cherries, dark berries. That is the opening always for Aglianico. Of course, here we have spices from the oaks, we have tertiary notes with the aging, so we have a lot of things. The minerality is still quite heavy then, besides the fruits. Some graphite also, tobacco, several spices, also pepper. Touch of earthy already, I find. And is very refined. So nothing out of place. Harmonic, really, after 10 years, really an incredible job. I know very well them since long time. I spoke about the wine already before, so I know the wine very well. Yeah, changing a bit now. Still very good freshness, minerality. Even the tannin is still firm, quite gentle, but still firm there. You perceive it. And bone dry, super dry, really. Long lasting, cleaning your palate. Of course, these wines need big meats. Lamb is a classic there. Length, complexity, so perfect expression. This wine in Italy retail 30 euros. What I have to say. Go to check Brunello and Barolo. This is the real alternative if you like those wines. Different in some characteristics, but with many common points and much more affordable. More spicy, more tertiary coming out. The earthy now is more evident. Touch of mushroom also. So as you see, quite complex already. Still the fruit, first of all. Yeah, bone dry. So this wine, of course, you cannot drink it if it's only 5-6 years. Need more. 15, remember, was amazing vintage in the whole Italy, most of Europe. So it's a great vintage for the aging. I think we'll age easily another 10 years very well. Because it's in drinking window for sure, so these wines need time. But it's just starting the drinking window, you can say, the first couple of years. So it will go ahead for long, we get more complexity, more tertiary notes, and more Garnet, and then we start to slow down. But I think another 10 years of peak, no fear of it. Unfortunately, it's the last bottle I found. Yeah, keep changing, but then we will see more tomorrow. So Caggiano, as said, started in the 90s, developed quite quickly, became a reference, focused on Aglianico, but also the one Fiano and one Greco. So he's in Taurasi, 350 meters, so not far from the villages where the other is sourced. Still clay limestone, so similar soil, a bit lower altitude. And he's doing only barrique, 18 months, and then bottle refinement. No mention about the maceration. It's quite different. Okay, it's younger. There is no comparison. First, a bit different style, not much, but this is more on the barrique focused. And second, is younger, so you cannot compare. 3 years of difference is a lot. Here also the dark fruit first of all, but then more the spices from the barrique. No mention in both cases if they are new, partially new, we don't know. I would say so far less complex, but makes also sense being only 7 years old. Only. Yeah, it's more on the fruit and a bit of spices. Tertiary, almost nothing so far. Bone dry also, a bit firmer because it's younger and also has a bit more alcohol. So the tannin is a bit more evident. Similar character on the palate, just a bit more power, but bone dry, length, minerality, more the fruity and a bit of spicy. So very similar in that, but of course with some different characteristics and of course different age. So very pleasant already. So far I would say this is not super refined. It's more refined Terredora. This is elegant, but less fine characters. But it may change. This may need more time to open up because it's younger. The older usually opens up faster. So this may show more tomorrow. Yeah, it's mostly the spices together with the fruits. Pepper also here. Some chocolate. It's changing a bit more now, but still quite shy. Firmer than the other. The tannin is more heavy. They are both with high acidity, so perfect with the food and perfect for aging. I remember I tried from Caggiano, 12, 15 years old, was outstanding. This is just 7 years, so it's still young for Taurasi. But I will give more tomorrow. I think it's much more meaningful. So let's see. Here we are, 24 hours later. I pour them back. So as logic, they change quite a bit, especially Caggiano, as I hinted. Already a good evolution yesterday evening. Let's see now. So Terredora didn't change a lot, went a bit more on tertiary and some more spices. Pretty much similar now, so there is less fruit at this point. Much more those peppery spices, very refined, all of them. And on the tertiary, still mostly earthy, mushroomy, not that pronounced actually. So being older, of course, there are two options. Either have a lot to show, so when it's huge complexity, amazing wines, so can change a lot even the next day, or is a bit slowing down because being older has shown already a good part of the spectrum. Seems this is the case. It's not an outstanding wine. It's a great wine, but it's not that kind of. It's not old wines, single vineyard, so you cannot pretend that much. And then for the value even more. Yeah, there. So reconfirming with a bit more spiciness and a bit more tertiary, very refined, as said, and very harmonic. So perfect. A touch of like under spirit fruit now, something like that. And something more herb, but also. So great complexity anyway. Great wine, value for money outstanding, as I said. Very worth, perfect drinking window, pack and age well, as I said. So let's see Caggiano. So I said younger, so need more time. It opened up more on sweet spices majority. As I said here, is more marked in the barrique, but it's also because it's younger. So more fruit still, but it's normal also a bit younger. And sweet spices, elegant as said, but not refined like the other one. This I forgot yesterday is below 40 euros retail in Italy. Yeah, little tertiary so far, little. Just a hint of earthy, but very, very, very subtle. So this is really beginning the drinking window. As I said, the tannin is still remarkable. It will give a lot in the coming years. Has similar age potential as the other, so another 10 years for sure, probably even a bit more than the other, is being younger. Is still shy relatively, so it's still a bit early, just beginning the key window. 10 years is a bit the standard for these wines to enjoy them very much. But it's a very nice wine, great elegance, great potential, good complexity, not too much so far, and it's more on the potential, this one. So, great examples of Taurasi. I hope you have the chance to try them. Prices are amazing, as you see. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, comment, please. Help us grow faster. And salute.